Welcome to the Big Success Podcast, cutting-edge conversations on business and personal success, as well as how to level up. Here's your host, #1 business coach in the world, Brad Sugars.
Today on the Big Success Podcast, I've got the bucket list guy, Trav Bell. Now, not only is he a bucket list expert, built his own personal training business. In fact, if you go right back, and some of the things he teaches us about reverse bucket lists today, which is going to show you a whole different side of gratitude. And I really think you'll enjoy that part for it. But as a kid, he wrote his to do before I die list. Like, okay, that's an interesting thing for a kid to do. But Travis is going to take us through that. Not only that, he takes us through his whole bucket list formula, the 12-step formula for creating your bucket list of not just the big travel things, but all of the other stuff. So he's here. He's written the book on it. He's taught everyone about it. He's the bucket list guy. Trav Bell, we're going to talk about success. So Travis Bell, I have to ask, as a bucket list guy, you're the bucket list guy. What is success to you? How do you define success?
Good question. And I'm gonna, me, I love fleshing things out in the story. I finished a hike with my dad about 10 years ago, and we were staying at a not so good hotel at the end of that hike in the middle of kind of lower Hobart, really dodgy kind of area. They picked it, I didn't. And on the back of the dunny door
was for the non-Australians, that's the door, yes.
That is, or the bagnio is there was a quote by Bob Dylan written, "A man is a success when he wakes up in the morning and goes to bed at night and does what he wants to in between." And I went, and it has stayed with me. It's in my book. I've talked about it at length. And I think success for me is doing what you want with whom you want, having the freedom of choice, and being happy in the process, having purpose, meaning, and choice in the process.
Okay, take that down just a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at that. Firstly, did that definition change over time, or has that always been your thing?
My definition has changed by hanging around with people like you, and which is, a success to me, sure, is choice, but also when you get exposed to other people playing life at a whole other level, very different to what you grew up with, then your perception of success expands. And I think, for me, I've always wanting to get around other people that are big thinkers. And as a result, it's just, the mind does not go back to that how it originally was before that exposure to other people living life a lot more grander, a lot more with a lot more expansive, a lot more choice. So for me, I'm always putting myself in environments and around big thinkers that allow me to expand and keep doing the things that I love in the process, though.
Everything you've done in your life, you've been sort of pushed to success levels for it. When do you think you chose success in life? Was it as a kid? Was it gradual? How did you choose success?
It's interesting. I never played team sports. Maybe because I was adopted. I grew up as a competitive athlete doing surfing and surf lifesaving and swimming. And I've always I've got a tattoo here. If it is to be, it is up to me. So it doesn't say if it is to be, it is up to the team. Unfortunately, there's no I in team. There is me. So I've always sort of, been self-determined. I've always been motivated. I've always, got around influences that I could learn from. That I can
time though, Trav, if you go way back, do you think there was a time where you said, "I'm choosing success in my life versus average"?
Yeah, definitely. I I reckon it goes back to seeing my dad disgruntlingly go to work at like split shift as a wharfie, as a fitter and turner by trade. Really in the same job from when he was 17 through to retirement. He was in the same job. The last 15 years, he did not like it. And I saw him get angrier and angrier and angrier. He's still angry today about the government and all the rest of it. The big man smashing the small man, and those current affair kind of shows, and he watches the news and just gets more and more angry. Anyway, bless him. But I reckon that turned me into a business owner. Is like my concept of work growing up is not favorable, not positive. I didn't want to spend the precious years of my life angry at the world like Dad was. Yeah. And so maybe that forced me to become an entrepreneur. Like right out of uni, I chose to be an entrepreneur to so I got my first personal fitness training client in third year uni, and then I started personal training back in the early 90s, and that one book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and all of your stuff as well, that really changed the perception of what success was, how to build wealth, how to do business. And rather than rely on someone else, I wanted to rely on myself.
So let's think then, if you look at success, what's your formula for it all? How do you predict success is going to happen? What's your methodology of how success works?
Well, I like, it's really an action. It's a doing activity, like I will sort myself, number one, having a goal. Like I've been always, right from when I was swimming competitively, I always wrote down goals. And, even to this day, I go and do corporate events and keynotes around the world. And I go into very intelligent groups of people and say, write down your goals. And it's like I've discovered freaking fire, and then I go into another group. I say, write down your bucket list. And it's like I've discovered the wheel. And so people don't do what you and I think. It's just our way of being. I've always written down goals. I don't understand why people don't. And I'm just like, all right, are they medium goal? Are they really stretch goals? And a goal is only valid if it's a stretch goal. So, all right, well, who do I have to? That's what I want to have. Who do I have to be, or who does one have to be in order to achieve that? Maybe disassociate myself and go, okay, what would Brad do? What would who would be the type of person that would achieve a goal like this in whatever area of life? And more importantly, what would they do? So I kind of flip that, be, do, have. No, you're big on that. Sort of have, be, do to a certain extent. Yeah. What's the goal that you want to have? And then reverse engineer it and go, who is that kind of person that wants to have, that could achieve that? And then get around those people. That's an accelerated learning technique. Get around the people that are actually like that, and that stuff rubs off. And what do they do on a day-to-day basis in order to close that gap?
So when you think about, make the mistakes or the failures in life, how do you use failure to teach success? Or how do you learn from that sort of thing?
I think it's really important, and I've always done this, is, teaching, like learn to teach. If I've learned lessons, I guess I'm an educator by trade and I can't help it. A coach by trade and I can't help it. If I've learned something, whether it be by a book or from my own life or from a business, I like to be able to impart those lessons, not immediately because they're too fresh, but at least impart those lessons. I went through a mental health battle with depression, albeit mild back in the day before I became the bucket list guy. And I know that if I'm vulnerable, if I'm authentic to the message, and if I tell stories, that the audience or clients can't hide in my shadows as a result. That really brings them into the light and gets them to address the things that they want to address. So imparting that knowledge, there's a lot of people that learn a lot of stuff in life. And I'm the first to say, whatever you do, don't go through this life and die with the wisdoms trapped within you. Get it out of you, extract the learnings, articulate them in a way to teach them and help others. Helping others is one of my highest values, along with family and health and all the rest. But if I'm not helping others, which I saw during COVID, I was like, I'm not helping enough people. It frustrates me. So I love helping people. I love imparting those messages, and that gives me a sense of fulfillment. And that is a success marker for me. If I'm only helping one person or a handful of people, I'm actually not tuning in to why I'm here.
Got it. You're on the Big Success Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars. We'll be back with the bucket list guy, Trav Bell, and we're going to be talking about bucket lists and how you build them and what you can do and how you can succeed at living a bucket list life.
In 30 minutes a day for 30 days, 30X Business will take you through the exact hard-won business principles that Brad Sugars has personally developed over the past 30 years as an entrepreneur, investor, and business advisor. Join Brad and his team and 100 other entrepreneurs who want to start building a successful business today.
You're back on the Big Success Podcast. I am Brad Sugars, your host, and we're going to chat with the bucket list guy, Trav Bell, around bucket lists. But before we do that, Trav, I want to ask, how does one succeed at the reverse bucket list? Because I love the way you teach people to do that. How do you succeed at doing it? Well, maybe first tell them what it is and then how to succeed at doing it.
Yeah, everyone knows what a bucket list is. There's, it's all the future things all the things we want to tick off our list before we die, between now and into the future, before that, use by date. But the reverse bucket list is, I actually do the reverse bucket list with people before the future bucket list to give people a sense of gratitude, to get them to identify all the cool things that they've done in their life as if they were on a bucket list all the way along. And this is a big gratitude exercise. So when people identify all the cool stuff, and to be honest, we live in such a forward-facing world, the next thing, the next goal, the next, and that can create anxiety in people by just piling more on. Dude, I'm already busy. And now you're talking to me about bucket lists. It's like, no. One of the pillars of positive psychology is gratitude. Positive psych, as you know, it's about identifying the strengths, what gives person meaning, purpose, fulfillment, and gratitude, and basically bleeding more of that into their life and into their business life as well, or work life, and therefore you'll have a quote unquote happy life or a more fulfilled life as a result. But people are too busy trying to fix their weaknesses to balance things out. No, positive psych is just like, no, do more of what you're good at. What floats your boat.
How do we succeed in creating, what's the keys to creating a great reverse bucket list?
Mate, it's identifying all the things that you've done in your life as if they were in a bucket list all the way along. Simple as that. You ask most people, identify those things, and people will sort of start to tap out at about 5 things. You mean you can only identify 5 things on your reverse bucket lists, maybe in the 5 minutes that I've given you? So I think it's really important to identify all the things, and there's no judgment, no comparison or anything like that. You've got a reverse bucket list, and that should be as fleshed out and as big as the future bucket list. What it does is when you actually put pen to paper and even create a reverse bucket list board for some people, it gives people an overwhelming sense of gratitude and a hell of a foundation to then dream big, because a lot of this stuff happened by, all the stuff in your past happened by default rather than intentional design. What if we actually put some intention, true intention behind what we want to do going forward? And people like that get that glimmer of hope, mate. And I've got to say, just helping people identify all the cool stuff, and I frame it up in this, reverse bucket list context, that alone has helped so many people with depressive thoughts. It really has over the years. It's helped people just bring the light back and go, yeah, massive appreciation for the stuff that I've done in my life already.
I remember doing it and just listing all the places that I'd traveled to, and just when you actually list them down and you go, dang, I've been everywhere. It makes it feel real good. So let's flip that over then. Your formula for the bucket list, the My Bucket List, can you take us through that and why that formula is important?
Yeah. Well, I created it on the back of researching what most this is about 12 years ago when someone called me the bucket list guy. Most bucket lists are about travel, and that's what a lot of people still think that bucket lists are all about. But travel, unfortunately, uses the most resources, time and money as a resource. It's really expensive, and it takes somewhat a lot of time in order to tick that stuff off. So it doesn't happen until retirement, until you can get off work. And what is in America? You get 2 weeks off a year if you're employed, 4 weeks off if you're in Australia. When the hell am I going to get time to do my bucket list? So it forces people into a mindset of heavy delayed gratification. I'll be happy when that happens syndrome, or I'll have to wait until someday or the perfect time.
Got it.
And, with the mental health stats, as scary as they are, depression, anxiety, the overprescription of antidepressants, youth suicides, then you go throw the pandemic on top of that, and even this thing called the loneliness epidemic, which is a real thing. You've got a perfect storm of mental health. So there's got to be I'm doing my bit to, my narrative, this bucket list narrative, to help people, to give people tools to be instantly gratified, to get that sense of instant gratification rather than just wait until delayed gratification, so they can be happy now. So I created this My Bucket List Blueprint, which is a 12-step program, which sounds like AA. You might need a drink afterwards, but and it's
what is the formula? What does it stand for?
So My Bucket List, it's an acronym. So it's designed to help you go north, south, east, west in your own brain, help you extract and articulate a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list rather than just about travel. So M, who do you want to meet before your time up? Meet a personal hero. Right. Y stands for your proud achievements. Another level of education, a TED talk. Starting a business maybe for some, building your own house. My B. I've written a book on this. I've done a TED talk on this. B. Buy that special something. This is the only materialistic part of this. How are you rewarding yourself? Ultimate challenges. So these are maybe the small, medium, and big physical challenges. Also the intellectual challenges that you can set for yourself. See, on the other side of your bucket list, here's something that people need to write down. On the other side of your bucket list is a you that you don't know yet. I want people to get curiously excited about what's on the other side, the bigger version of them that they don't know yet. Because as we know, people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. People get to midlife and they have a crisis. We call it a crisis. Let's have a midlife awakening. So conquer a fear. So it's not just about holding the snake or getting the spider. It's how you map that stepping up to the plate, conquering the fear, jumping off the bridge with the bungee. But how do you map that into other areas of your life? Maybe it's starting that business, or it's asking someone out on a date. it's how you map those fears. Conquer a fear. What are we up to? MUCK.
Yes.
Kind acts for others. Like I said, it's early over here in Australia, Brad, so I'm yet to have the coffee. Kind acts for others. So this really rounds out the bucket list, this and another category. It's not about just you. It's about, the kind of footprint that you can lay down while you're still here. Now, we're assuming that you're all nice people who are listening to this. So, buying someone else coffee in the line at Starbucks or helping an old lady over the street. Let's assume that you do that naturally. That's not a bucket list item, but maybe there's a cause out there that hits your heart. Maybe there's a champion of a cause out there, or you've been personally affected by something that really pisses you off. Maybe that they need your attention. E stands for express yourself. So this is the creative part of you. Good. It could be woodworking. It could be writing a book. It could be writing songs. We've had people do all of the above. We had a bunch of ladies in Mexico at a company go and do quilting. And I didn't even know what the hell quilting was. So now I do. So that painting, art, photography, whatever it is. So this is the category that a lot of us used to do maybe before we became an adult, but where we find flow in, right? So E-T, the first T there is take lessons, all right? So what are some things that you want to learn before your time is up? Breakdancing, harmonica, guitar. I'm learning Spanish at the moment. Not very good, but I'm learning it. I'm actually learning for when I launched the book, I got a 4-channel DJ deck mixer. So I'm learning, mixing. I can't play a musical instrument to save myself, but this is allowing me to, and I can lose days doing that. So that's the creative side. L is along the same lines as K. L stands for leave a legacy. All right. How do we want to be remembered after you're gone? 1 year, 2 years, 50 years. What sort of an imprint are you making now? What sort of roots can you plant now in order to create that legacy? It might be a property portfolio. It might be even a father-son camp that you set up, a mentoring program, a scholarship. It could be a whole bunch of different things. I stands for, you love this bit, mate, is idiotic stuff. This is just, I know there's a 21-year-old backpacker within all of us still, no matter how serious you become as an adult, right? So God, people have just got to still keep having fun and having more adventures and choose fun and choose life, because people get so serious and then they mental health and anyway, people funnily enough, a lot of people say to me over the years, Trav, this is the feedback, thank you for giving me permission to have fun again. Thank you for giving me permission to dream again. I mean, dude, how sad is that?
Yeah.
So S stands for satisfy a curiosity. This category gets weird. It gets weird. There is some really weird stuff that people want to do. And this is actually the most, what are the foods? What are the restaurants? What are the places you want to stay? What has always been that chip on your shoulder that you've always been curious about exploring and doing? And when I do a couples bucket list, because that's one of our offerings, a couples bucket list, this category gets really fleshed out. Back on target.
Okay.
T stands for the classic travel adventures.
Right.
So where are the big bucket list items that you want to go on? Look, who do you want to do them with? Nothing sadder than doing a selfie at Machu Picchu. So these experiences need to be shared, and who do you want to share them with? These are the what's, but where's the big why?
Yeah.
When you flesh out your whole bucket list, and then you look at it in a categorized list, and then you go, I do a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is you'll move mountains to make that happen. 1, you couldn't really care about it. So you go through all your whole list and you go, yep, these are the 8s, 9s, and 10s, whatever they're the ones that really get you out of bed in the morning. And they're the ones where you got to start plotting them. You got to start what I call a bucket list budget around them. They're the ones that really can change the course of your life. With the travel adventures, what I was saying during lockdown, if you haven't got the money, you haven't got the time, be your own tourist in your own hometown first. It's an attitude of choosing, not just taking that default. A lot of us are just existing and not living. So this gives people an opportunity to really, I think, go for it. And it has worked over the last 12 years of letting people in on this stuff.
You're on the Big Success Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars. We're going to be back and we're going to talk about going from good to great, how we level up in our bucket list life.
He's known as the bucket list guy, the world's #1 bucket list expert. Someone called Travis this about 12 years ago after the first talk he ever did, and it's stuck ever since. To learn more about Travis Bell, please visit thebucketlistguy.com.
And we're back. Trav Bell, bucket list guy. What's the difference in the people that build a good bucket list, to do the average things, and people who go for massive and go for the really big stuff? What do you think is the difference between those people, and how can we learn if we want to be the ones going for the massive?
Well, I think a bucket list is so individual, and I say in my rooms when I speak, as you know, there's to be no comparison,
right? No
judgment, because what Brad Sugars, and I've seen your bucket list, what Brad Sugars will put on his bucket list, a lot of people around the world can't compare. And but that's but I've had I've had teens that are on suicide watch from really bad backgrounds, they're going through really bad stuff just to go on a holiday down the beach, that probably the rest of the world could take, just completely take for granted, that's not a bucket list, but that's massive in her world, and that has to be appreciated. See, and here's I guess the frame for it all. It's really not about the ticks off your bucket list. It's really about how a person reverse engineers every aspect of their life in order to make that stuff come to fruition. It's about the growth of you on this journey towards these self-imposed destinations. But more importantly, like I said before, it's about the you that exists on the other side. And that's the person that we don't know yet. So and that's our potential. When we get to experience our potential, it puts a smile on our face. So each to their own is probably the best answer for that. But you hang around enough, I'm going to challenge everyone that your bucket, this is a never ending thing. So whatever you put on your list, what are you going to do once you've crossed that off? Then you're going to have to go more, the more, the more, the more. So it's about getting around the right tribes of people, the right community, and the people listening to this podcast and hanging around in your world, they're always upping their game. They're always looking for more and more big success in their life. So don't keep it to yourself. Share your bucket list. Share your bucket list with your team, with your family. And it's amazing what comes out of them that will inspire you, and vice versa. So, it's really important to share this stuff and just don't keep it to yourself. Bring people on the journey with you.
Is there a formula for dreaming big? Is there a methodology for it? Or is it just as simple as get around people who are dreaming big?
Well, it has a hell of a, it's about action. At the end of the day, you can write all the goals. You can write all the goals that you want. But it's about taking action. baby steps if that's your way of doing it. I'm not one to do that, but everyone's got their own comfort zone. You've got to put pen to paper. Again, there's so many people that go through life, and they might even say they've got a bucket list, but it's up there with their to-do list. And guess which one gets done first on a day-to-day basis? It's their to-do list. So as simple as it sounds, and I'm on a lot of podcasts, I've talked to so many people over the years, and the first step is to, whether it's, go through that My Bucket List Blueprint. Don't just think about it. Grab a book if you want to. Have a look at my TED Talk. Get around our coaches who can help you, who can help guide you. But the most important thing is actually putting pen to paper and getting this stuff out of your head and separating that daily to-do list from your bucket list. And so as simple as that sounds, that is actually the first step. The first step is actually getting it out of your head. And I know it's really analog and old school, but what's this, Brad? This is a and what's this stuff here? Pen and paper. It does this amazing thing like writing. Basically when you write stuff down, I'm being facetious, of course, but when you actually write stuff down, you're typing into Google, or it could be Chat GPT-4 at the time of recording. You're typing in your search engine here. And if you don't type it in via writing, well, what are you searching for? The brain has a funny thing of helping the path of showing up. The universe has a funny way of showing the path when the what and the why are really strong. But you've got to plug it into Google, write this stuff down, and it's amazing how you start to you put Mount Everest Base Camp on you. But funnily enough, you're now talking to people who have been there. You're looking at blogs, you're looking at websites, stuff is showing up on social media.
All I have to do is actually say it and my phone starts showing me stuff.
I was about to say that. You just say it near your phone and you'll get ads. And just in this podcast, because I've got mine on right here, I'm probably now going to get ads about it, Mount Everest Base Camp. But that's kind of how it goes with that retargeting stuff. But write it down, guys. And then I'm going to say, pick off the thing that is the most easiest to do. All right, go the low-hanging fruit first, because that will give you the momentum and motivation to smash through the bigger ones.
Finishing up today, best advice you ever got on success, or best quote you ever read on success, other than that Bob Dylan one?
I'll come back to that. Come back to my tattoo. I love a bunch of your quotes as well, about business. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm going to say, I'm simply going to say, life's way too short not to live your bucket list. Don't wait until you get given a use by date. Now is the best time to take action, and it really is.
Love it. Travis Bell, the bucket list guy. Follow him, learn from him, study his stuff, build your own bucket list life. You're on the Big Success Podcast. We'll be back next week with more on your success. And that's the Big Success Podcast for today. Hopefully you took a lot of notes, and hopefully you learned a bunch, and hopefully you're going to take action on it and refer people. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button now. Be with us every week on the Big Success Podcast. BS, Brad Sugar's Big Success. Take action. Check the show notes for all the links. I'll give you all the links for everything that your speaker had. Make sure you follow through and keep the learning going. Remember, you got to grow into your goals. I'll speak to you next time on the Big Success Podcast.
You've been listening to the Big Success Podcast with the #1 business coach in the world, Brad Sugars. To learn more about how to achieve business and personal success, as well as how to level up or listen to past episodes, visit www.bradsugars.com.